Hi, I'm Kim Garcia. I'm a programmer and also the exhibition manager at NewFest. We are so happy to have you here to join us for this Q&A of after watching VULVEETA. And we have director Maria Breaux, and we also have StormMiguel Florez, who is part of the creative team and producer on the film as well. Hi, Maria. Hi, StormMiguel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
VULVEETA, what an exciting and fun blast to the past, but also bringing in contemporary happenings. I would love for you to just share the inspiration. I mean, just seeing how much of a collective effort it was, but what started this great film idea?
I guess I can chime in just at the aging process, I guess, and knowing, I was growing older and just thinking, okay, what have I accomplished? What have I not accomplished? And then just channeling that through this ridiculous character who's tried a lot of different things to heal and to come back together with this thing that she considered very special in her life. So I just thought of this person, and at first her name was Gilda, then she became Grrrilda. Then she became Grrrilda, and I brought my friends along for the ride after that.
It's great. What I really appreciate is the fact that it is about just this beautiful moment in time that I think many of us can relate to, of Riot Grrrl and the queercore scene, especially in the Bay Area. But it's something that, also happened in New York and so many other places. And just to have kind of this sense of nostalgia, but also we see in all of these characters a little bit of nuance of some who are kind of changing with the times. And then we also see with Grrrilda of resistance to the times. So I wondered, the writing does seem so smart in the ways that it kind of folds in technology, this analog past nostalgia with it. And just, how did you balance that and start crafting in those little bits? Because there is something interesting about, San Francisco being this tech epicenter at this point, and seeing some of those characters kind of lead into that and others resistant. So
yeah, thank you first off, and yeah, I definitely know people who are still kind of nostalgic about that time, haven't really left that time period, which for better or for worse, and then others who have kind of ridden that wave, also for better or for worse, of the new tech world that has kind of descended on so many of our big cities in the US. And so I wanted to be not 100% judgmental about it, but basically everything in the movie is judgmental and making fun of, and but also not really condemning anything, because most of the band is now in tech, and they're making their living in tech. And Grrrilda is that one, and also Harriet, who is stuck in the past somewhat. And so, yeah, I wanted to find that balance of, okay, these are some great things that happened. There was a whole music scene that happened. A Riot Grrrl movement happened and is happening and has kind of branched off into other scenes and things. And so I wanted to pay homage to that, while at the same time just making fun of everything in between then, now, the whole modalities of healing and what that, and just for the record, everything that Grrrilda has done, I have done too. So I went to Peru and I did an ayahuasca retreat. Each one of those experiences is a story unto itself, but I also did past life regressions and went through this period of thinking, it's all about healing right now and getting rid of historical trauma. And I was whole hog, like, I'm going to friggin' heal with a capital H. And then so Grrrilda became that manifestation, not only of having one foot in the past, but also kind of creating possibility for herself in the present and the future. And so that was really important to me to get that mix. As far as structure and how we went about it, it's pretty standard 3-act structure for a movie. And we created an outline. Didn't have any written dialogue. It's 100% improvised. We had some beats we knew we wanted to hit, maybe some concepts, but we didn't have the exact language to get us there. And then once we knew we needed to hit those beats and have those through lines and character arcs play out, then we knew that we were all leading up to that final show. So yeah, and then we just played the whole time along the way.
I mean, with that, I have to say, like StormMiguel and Maria, both of you, and also the rest of the cast, to know that so much of it was improv. How did you go through the filming process? Especially, there's so much composure. I mean, you have this mockumentary setup, and I was just astounded by how much all of you, these great jokes are happening, and then you're all just so in it. How did you create that environment on set? And then with the improv, what was the process to get to that point?
Okay, and I will let StormMiguel talk about some of the editing and the difficulty therein. But we spent a year and a half, not every weekend, but a lot of weekends, just getting together in my living room and doing improv games, and doing a lot of character work, character bios, and really getting to know each other's characters and relationships between characters. We went to karaoke and we like sang together, and then we also rehearsed some of our songs very minimally. And StormMiguel is an accomplished musician in the Bay Area and elsewhere, and so he led us in some of that exploration of what our sound was going to be. But basically, we spent a year and a half just playing, and more than anything, getting to know our characters, so that any situation that we were in, we were coming into it as is Grrrilda or Gordon X Garcia. So no matter what we said that hit that outline, we were true to our characters, and so we just ran each scene, and sometimes in multiple ways, and sometimes it would end on a high note, sometimes it would end on a low note, and then in the edit we crafted together something that would hopefully hold the viewer's attention. And I'll let StormMiguel speak to that.
Sure, yeah. So this was definitely a big challenge to edit in a way that continuity was kind of the biggest challenge, because every scene, because Maria wanted us to be so kind of authentic in our improvisation in every single take. And so, like, try not to do the same thing exactly twice, or, just like, let's see it this way, let's see it this way. But we're really just kind of coming in with a new feel, new idea every time, sticking true to the character and what we were trying to accomplish. And so editing was really a challenge, because the continuity bit, you're getting one angle and then you're getting another angle, but people are saying completely different things or responding to different things. And the plan initially was that I was going to be the editor. And as I started, I was like, okay, I'm going to need some help here. So Maria came in and we partnered as editors, which was really a really wonderful and fun experience, because then each of us would take a scene on, and then we would swap and then say, okay, well, I'm going to finish this way, or what if we did this instead? So it was really this wonderful partnership through the editing process that I enjoyed very much. And and one of the things I just want to say is that Maria was really generous and trusting of each of us as actors, in allowing us to really hone our own characters and develop our own characters and who they were. Like, Maria was just like, basically like, you're the guitar player, you're the bass player, you're the drummer. What's your name? Where are you from? What's your backstory? And then we would start improvising together and come up with those things, come up with our dynamics, come up with the conflicts and the resolutions, just in improv. And we got to bring that, I guess, that vibe or energy into the actual film. But we really didn't rehearse the scenes, which was kind of amazing. It was just more our relationship. We got to really develop our relationship and our characters with each other and our rapport. And then when it was time to film, Maria was like, okay, this is the part where where Gordon X brings in the tape recorder and hits record. And that one I knew a little bit ahead of time. That one was like, we kind of knew what was going to happen, so we did a little. Did we do pre-recording on that one? I feel like I don't remember. Was that after?
The tape was done as ADR.
The tape was done as ADR. Yeah. So basically it was just like, hit record. We know something's being said here that Jet's going to react, or hit play. We know something that's going to be said, that Jet's going to react to. And all of that, again, was improvised. We knew that there was going to be a boombox, put the boombox down, and then everybody responds. I hit record or play, and then everybody responds. But again, it was just like, what are we imagining is happening here when I press play? And so that was another fun part of editing, was getting to do some sound design around an ADR, just like, what does an old cassette sound like? And, Jet or Jay did her improv at home about what it is she says when we hit play. And so it was a really fun experience to get to play with those things during and also afterwards. We still got to do improv after we were done filming in the edit.
And you're reminding me of a couple of other instances of that. So there's the beginning of the movie where Grrrilda says, "I never had a drug habit." And that was a thing for a long time. And then StormMiguel said, "Well, what if she actually did do drugs at one point?" And I said, "Let's play it both ways. One, she never did drugs. And the second time, yeah, she did it, but she didn't exhale," which became a joke. And then there's also when we're doing our first with all that long tuning up, which is StormMiguel experience tuning up. And so okay, let's tune up. And in one take of that scene, we thought we sounded like crap. And in another take, we thought we sounded great. And so I thought it'd be funny. We sounded like crap in actuality, but let's pretend like we sounded great. So that's a lot of fun and a lot of just playing with different potential endings to scenes.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I mean, you really do feel that energy in the film of just, I get the sense that you all had so much fun doing this together and that it was really just this collective great experience. And I wonder, how was it behind the scenes with working with the crew, and how did you come together with your crew? Because it does feel like you created this fun, intimate space where you all could just really thrive on screen.
It was awful. We were throwing chairs at each other. No, I really, really strongly believe. I've worked on so many like indie film sets that, you know, people talking down to you or not listening to you. And I've come to the point where I just don't want to do that. And I want to work with people I've worked with before who I love and I trust and who are in community and talking about aging and being existential. Like we have so little time. Why waste it with assholes? And so it's important to me to just have like a set where we check in and we have just a lot of joy and good food, which is also very important, and that people are well fed, they have breaks when they need them, they have whatever they need to be present and appreciated, and bring their best self to their performance.
Yeah, I want to say Maria just has a knack for bringing together amazing people and creating an environment that is really nurturing and fun to be in. So I just want to throw that in there. It was a blast working on set.
Thank you.
And with that, StormMiguel, I know you both mentioned the songwriting. It's such a key part, and it really does capture, like, I was just laughing aloud about just certain songs that are played throughout and remembering bands that I felt like I saw at maybe a house show in the Bay or at the Parkside as well. And I wondered, what was the songwriting process in terms of being like, okay, this is the sound, or these are the lyrics, because I feel like the lyrics are such a key part of it too.
Well, it's very interesting. I think there was only one song that was written for the film, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Two.
Oh, there were two. Okay, there were two. So there were a couple songs. So there were 3 songs that had already been written and, you know, played or not played, but written years before. And 2 of them were friends of Maria's, and I'm going to let Maria talk about them. And then one of them was a song I wrote in 8th grade that was just kind of, it was our own generation song. And it was basically in a band. So we took so much from our history, which was great. I was actually in a band in 8th grade called Hard Meat, which none of us even knew what that meant. Someone was just like, yeah, let's call it Hard Meat. We're like, yeah. And and it was an all-girl band. I'm trans and was girl identified at the time. But the funny thing is I was the only one that played an instrument, and we never actually played. So, you know, they were just like, basically like, yeah, let's write a song called Our Own Generation. So we wrote a song called Our Own Generation. I wrote the guitar part at home, and then I went to school and I was like, all right, I got it. And didn't bring my guitar, just like, neener, okay, and here's how it goes. And then I would sing it. So it was so fun to get to bring that song forward, because I never actually performed that song as a musician, like on stage. So that was a blast to get to play it actually with the band and bring it to the group. But other than that, it was songs that Maria wrote, a couple songs for the movie, and I'm gonna let you talk about that, Maria, because I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I remember I kind of put out a call for whatever songs you have from your past, because Jay Aguilar, who plays Jet Grown, was in like a band. We all were in bands. In college with the woman who ends up playing Susan. So they had a Riot Girl band, and so but they couldn't find the cassette tape, and so me and my wife Sarah, who plays Harriet, you'll see the family connections going on, but she's an actress, and she had these two friends in college who played in a band as well, Lady Fingers and Laura Limes, and they would just play with a hot licks guitar. Laura didn't play music, but she had a hot licks, and then Michelle was actually a musician, and they had these two songs, and I said, okay, let's rework these two songs. They're quirky, they're weird. And then you're right, StormMiguel, there's one song written because Transportation Queen I wrote a long time ago, but it sounded completely different, so I rearranged it for the movie, and then I wrote the rock anthem specifically for the movie based on who Grrrilda is and what she accomplished, and it turned out to be, I wanted it to be like a hopeful song, and it has a flavor of Monty Python and The Life of Brian, where at the end there's someone on a crucifix singing a very positive song, look on the bright side of life. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna have cake on Grrrilda's face, and she's gonna be singing about don't worry about tomorrow. So she's not on a crucifix, but she does have cake on her face. So that was the one song that was written for the movie.
Yeah, it's so great. I mean, and with that, will there be a VULVEETA soundtrack that will be accompanying?
That's a good question. We did make it available to, we did a couple of different crowdfunding efforts, and one of the rewards was that soundtrack. So, but we haven't had any discussion about a broader distribution of it.
It'd be fun if it were on a tape only.
Do those, can they be played anymore even? Do people have tape players?
No one will ever hear it, but it'll
It might inspire a new movement.
And the only other thing I'll say about the rock anthem is, if you look at punk bands, many of them do have rock anthems, like Green Day, or you have Four Non Blondes with What's Up. They weren't quite punk, but that's what I was also trying to tap into. There's music from that time period where someone had some kind of rock anthem or mellow song that went along with the hard stuff. So, but yeah, maybe there will be a soundtrack, and maybe it will be available at some point.
That's great. I mean, and with that, going back to bands of that time, it was great to see the cameos from Alison Wolfe and like Lenny Greenlove. So I wondered how they got into the mix of just appearing in the film, and also playing out these fun conversations where, you know, with Alison Wolfe, you're like, oh, you were in Bikini Kill, right?
Well, StormMiguel introduced me to Vega Darling, who is also a filmmaker who's doing a documentary on the Riot Girl movement, and knew all of those musicians, and very graciously put us in touch with Allison. And when he ran the Rough Cut by Bikini Kill to make sure that, you know, everything we were doing was kosher. And so he was our entree into that. And then just being in San Francisco for decades, everyone knew Tribe 8, and everyone knows someone who knows someone. And so just contacting people, and we knew Damiana, who plays Damiana, went to high school with Sarah at Crossroads in LA, so we knew her, and then Michael Lucid, him, Damiana, her, and then Persia is also just very well known in San Francisco. So Jay Aguilar introduced me to them, and then Hillary Ronan and Carolyn Goosen in city government, and Hillary Ronan was my rep for a long time, and our kids had swimming class and dance class together. So it was very community oriented, and that's how we got everybody, just from people who know people, and connecting us that way.
That's great. I had a question about the final show too. Was it at the Parkside? Because also the way it was filmed, it did have that presence of, did you actually throw a show, or how was the setup for it? Because it had that energy where I was just kind of like, is this a show? Was everyone in on the joke that this was a film, or were they showing up for a show? I have just wondered about that.
It was both. So the Homo Bills the Breedlove's band, and the drummer KB Tuffy Boyce did the sound mix, the post-production sound. They knew, basically I curated that as well, and we knew people who wanted to be performing on that night. There was one band, I think it was Moon Palace, who was in from Seattle. They had a show lined up, but they didn't like the venue or how they were being treated by the venue. So I said, hey, come be in our movie and be in our show. So also with help from Olivia Peria, who was the director of photography, who had run Wiretap Music, which was this online site for local bands, and would go and film bands all over San Francisco, including the Parkside. So yes, they knew it was a show. We curated it, and the people in the audience knew that they were going to be filmed. Did you have anything to add, StormMiguel?
It was just fun. The first three bands, and there was Side Pony as well. They did sets, and then VULVEETA came on, and we were completely filming. We would do a cut, and we'd be like, okay, now we're gonna do it this way. We do the same song over again. Okay, and people were just so game. We had them screaming VULVEETA, like so many separate takes of that, and people were just down for it and really okay, and stuck around with us singing a song like 3 times just to get it right. And so, yeah, the audience was amazing.
And a big contingent was what I call the punk moms from my daughter's school. We just put out a call and said, come be in a movie, and they were so excited to be there. And yeah, they were part of the crowd as well.
That's sweet. Yeah, because you can just definitely feel the energy in the room. I was like, wow, everyone's so pumped to be here. This feels great. You know, speaking of like different generations, I really loved Casey's character, and just the idea of here you have someone who is of the generation of being on social media, and then in the band practices, it's totally quiet as these tensions are playing out, and then resorts to social media, and then that's how we get that deeper look into what Casey's actually experiencing. And I wondered, how was that crafted? Just hearing the improv end, and when did this make an introduction? Because I felt like that was such a fun addition to giving us a different lens and perspective of what's happening into the band.
Yeah, that so that's my daughter Dakota, who's turning 25 in a couple of weeks, and she had drum lessons when she was a kid, and so I said, you have to be in the movie as a drummer. She was reluctant, but then she came around, and she created her own character. She said Casey's going to be someone who's in search of an identity, and she's going to have a different outfit in every single scene, and she's going to be coming into who she is as an adult, no longer the 2-year-old punk drummer. And so that was all her. And we knew that she was going to be involved, with social media, because, let's face it, speaking for myself, I do not know social media as well as my daughter knows social media. She had to show me how to use Instagram because I was on Facebook, which I guess for all the older people are at these days. So, yeah. And of course she become like the secret person. She's the person who gets people at the final show, and it's because of social media and the fact that Grrrilda, who's holding on to these past methods of weak pace and stickering and firing, doesn't want to step into the tech century. So the short answer is that was all Dakota Breaux, and she created that character and planned all the costumes in conjunction with our costume designer, and created Killer Child / Casey.
Amazing. It's beautiful to hear. I think we have to wrap up in a moment, but I wondered if you had any final insights or happy accidents or any other things you'd like to share about the film with our audience.
Happy accident was the scene with the circle, the spiritual circle scene. And that was that. So that morning we were all meeting at a house and expecting the person you see in the poster to actually be there. And he wasn't able to actually make it. Last minute, we're like, oh no, he's not going to make it. And so we just ended up doing the scene without him. It would have been great with him, but I think it was just so hilarious to have it. Like, we're at my spiritual guru's house. He couldn't make it. And there's this big poster. And actually this person is well-known in community in San Francisco, Fresh Lev White, as I think he used to he used to throw parties or DJ back in like the 90s, and has been a drag king performer, and is now actually leading spiritual retreats and meditation work with folks. And so it was kind of extra hilarious to have just like a big old picture of Fresh White in there, and that's who we're kind of circling around, even though he can't be there. To me, that was just like one of the most happiest of accidents that happened. It just kind of added more humor to the scene.
Yeah, that was fun. And I know that several in that circle actually were laughing. So some of their reaction because they were laughing.
Oh, at the premiere, yeah.
Yeah. I think the happy accident, so there was someone who was supposed to be playing Jet Groner, a bass player, the name wasn't Jet yet, who couldn't make it because they had this other project that they were doing. They got very busy. And Jay Aguilar, I actually have worked on, they've worked on 15 of my movies, and I worked on a couple of theirs. And so this would have been the first where I would have eventually found a role for them. But the fact that that person dropped out, Jet was perfect for that role. Jay was perfect for the role of Jet. And so that was a very fortuitous thing that happened. And I'm glad that we were able to work together as a bandmate, as a band member in VULVEETA.
Yeah, I was going to add, Jay was fantastic and just had the perfect bass player energy of
Right.
no conflict. Let's keep the peace. I'm going to keep everything in.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, Jay had me laughing in that circle scene too, because the faces that Jay was, the faces in the meditation scene. There was a point where the cameras were pointed at each of us. So the take was, we're going to get Jay's reaction, we're going to get my reaction. And I just had like the biggest laughing fit and was having to hold it in because I'm looking directly at Jay, who's making all of these faces. And I was just like turning red and my eyes were watering, and I did not want to mess up Jay's scene. So I just like kept it quiet, and we kept some of my reactions in that scene as just like being Gordon X's reactions. That was really fun.
So great. Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to talk with us. Love VULVEETA, and we're happy to share this incredible film. And thank you again, Maria and StormMiguel. And we're really hoping that one day we can meet all in person and celebrate your film together.
Definitely. And thanks to everyone who came to see it. And
yes, thank you.
Is laughing at it.
Sweet. And here's hoping, sweet. Thank you all again. Please join us for a future New Fest. Thank you.